Now, Operation Dudula continues today with what it calls clean-up operation. Organisers claim it's aimed at removing undocumented foreign nationals and drug dealers in communities. Now, on the other hand, yesterday, anti-xenophobic organizations met for a plan of action against Operation Dudula. Their aim is to tackle claims that migrants are taking jobs for South Africans. We're joined by the United Front spokesperson, that's Trevor Ngwane, and in studio by Operation Dudula's representative, Radebe, to discuss just this. Gentlemen, good afternoon, and thank you very much for your time. Now, the Dudula operations have preoccupied the minds of South Africans, particularly the characterization of these operations. Now, those sympathetic to the cause say it's about enforcing labor laws that government failed to enforce, while others say it's pure xenophobia. What did those, perhaps to start with you, Trevor, what did those gathered at the meeting characterize these operations as?
Well, the meeting, thank you very much for the platform. The meeting included local South African organizations and organizations of migrants. So the consensus was that even though we understand the pressure and the challenges and the difficulties facing ordinary working class people and the poor in South Africa, but it is important to unite to address those problems such as poverty, unemployment, rather than to scapegoat certain groups and blame it on them. So we did feel that even though we understand the context, but we shouldn't agree to xenophobia.
All right, so if I'm getting you correctly, you're saying that you did agree that these were legitimate issues around perhaps labor quotas that possibly should be enforced. One, you agreed on what else exactly in terms of these being legitimate concerns, and what didn't you agree on?
No, we didn't agree on labor quotas. We agreed on the crisis of everyday life facing ordinary South African working class. Jobs, electricity, education, inequality, gender-based violence. You know, everyday life for ordinary South Africans is really difficult. So we agreed on that context. Remember, only yesterday we come from what I call the July days, when the masses, people attacked shopping malls. So we take Operation Dudula as such a response. You know, it's spontaneous, but it doesn't really address the problems correctly, and it doesn't really offer lasting solutions. Instead, it divides us, and it causes turmoil, violence, insecurity, instability, you know, and uncertainty.
So what were the inputs around some sort of a lasting solution when you speak about working together?
Well, we are launching a campaign called Kopanang Africa Against Xenophobia. So we can sit down and discuss problems of jobs. We can talk about, you know, the unequal distribution of wealth in South Africa. Remember, our struggle is not over. The capitalists, the imperialists still continue to monopolize the wealth. In South Africa, we have white monopoly capital and the aspirant black bourgeoisie taking most of the money and leaving the masses with nothing. So we said migrants and locals, working class people must unite and struggle for redistribution, for water for all, electricity for all. We must hold each other's hands rather than fight among ourselves.
Okay. Mr. Radebe, you've heard Trevor there. He's just stated that perhaps here the solution would be unity, that you work together. Legitimately, he believes there are issues, there are struggles here, one of the economy, scarce resources. There are legitimate concerns, but the manner in which they're being addressed seems to be a problem, or that's what came out of their meeting. What's your take?
Our take is that we believe that South Africans can solve their problems on their own without inviting people from outside to assist us to solve our problems. That's why we are taking upon our hands to clean our country, to sort out the challenges that we are facing on a day-to-day basis. as a result of that, we are not prepared to waste our energy in answering characters like Trevor Ngwane, because it seems as if he's living in a planet where he just woke up yesterday and he doesn't realize what is happening. We live on the ground, we live with the people, we see our children being affected by drugs, we see the level of poverty. We have visited companies that are 100% foreign when it comes to employment. How do you negotiate in those grounds? Where do you start negotiating? Because these companies, they deliberately overlook South Africans and employ the non-South Africans for the purpose of abusing them, because they pay them peanuts. They don't give them all the benefits that they should be getting. That is the only reason they are overlooking South Africans. And this problem has taken place over 20 years. Nobody did anything about it. No government did anything about it. Trevor Ngwane was not there to do anything about it. Now that South Africans are uniting, standing up, and then he goes and mobilizes people from outside the country, trying to be relevant somehow. Because we know very well that to the people of South Africa, since he left his office of being the first councillor in one part of the Soweto in Pimville, under a dark cloud, he lost relevance. Now he's coming back trying to be relevant in a manner that is working totally against the people of South Africa.
Trevor, I don't know if you caught some of that, where he's stating that in fact you could be disconnected from the issues on the ground here. He says you're more philosophical or idealist in what should happen. That here you're seeing it from what would ordinarily be a solution, but what is on the ground is completely divorced from what you're saying. What's your take?
Well, firstly, I will ignore the insults and the personal attacks, and I'll request the comrade to play the ball and not play the man.
Yes,
and I
please.
think that doing that, usually that happens when someone hasn't got strong arguments. I thought we were going to have a conversation and try and find each other. So to attack me and say I left, I don't know what, I don't know. Yeah, I don't think this discussion is about Trevor Ngwane. This is a problem where people are marching up and down in the city center, intimidating, shop owners. Imagine, Mfundo, you are a shop owner, and then 1,000 people come, marching, demanding, papers. They are carrying banners. They are wearing, like that gentleman is doing, wearing a military cap. They are having a flag with 2 AK-47 crossed. That military symbolism, that masculinist toxicity, that coercive, violent facade. I think this is not something that should be part of everyday life in South Africa.
Now talk to me about another, perhaps what others have said, another argument, that here there's a situation where perhaps the fight should be taken to government, or at least citizens should be disappointed with how government has handled its labor laws. There are those that believe that, and even the police, because having covered some of these operations, many of them would speak of the police not being able to assist them, whether it's an issue of capacity or corruption within their ranks, that is yet to be established. But nevertheless, they've also had concerns about policing itself, particularly in the likes of Hillbrow, where it's become a hotspot. And many South Africans says if we have a strong police force, we should never have any part, a community being considered a hotspot. If there's a rumor that a certain community is considered a hotspot, the next day, that should be the spot where police are actually sitting the whole day. So is there no perhaps legitimacy to such an argument that somehow everybody should probably focus on government, that they've been failed to a certain extent here by government?
I don't know if you are addressing it to me or
I'm addressing it to you, Trevor. I'm addressing it to you, Trevor.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Mfundo. Exactly. One of the questions I wanted to ask my comrade there is, who is the target of our strategy? Is it the rich and powerful? Is it those who hold power? Or do we target the poor, the vulnerable, the powerless? I think an old lady with a table, at Barra takes the rank, is not powerful, is vulnerable. So indeed, we should go to the government and say, create jobs. We should go to the government and say, deal with crime. We should go to the government and say, make sure that, ordinary people in South Africa, whether born here or born elsewhere, have, a fulfilling and safe and secure
All
existence.
right, Dan, question to you. Who is the target? Is it government? Is it ordinary people? Are you specifically dealing with illegal immigrants in the country? Who's the target?
It is the government. We are dealing with illegal immigrants in the country. And I don't know if maybe people were not inside the country when we went to the Union building on the 26th of August 2021. And before that, we went to the mayor's office on the 17th of May 2021, putting forward the plight of the people on the ground, that prioritize South Africans, create jobs. Let's deal with drugs. 1, 2, 3, let's enforce labor laws. Let's enforce immigration acts, please. And that was directed to the government. And since then, nothing happened. And now you cannot tell people that now for the government, we've been waiting for the past 20 years to do something about it. And then you're saying people must just stay in poverty and tolerate poverty.
So this is the
until
response.
Government responds. This is the response.
Because government ignored your plea.
Ignored our pleas. On the 17th of May 2021, we went to the mayor's office. That's where we started, so that we deal with the issues on the ground. On the 26th of August 2021, we went to the Union building, pleading with the government to enforce the laws, to enforce immigration acts and all that. And nothing happened. Now you cannot tell people that, no, it's okay, let's wait for the next 10 years for the government to do something, but at the moment just stay in poverty. At the moment be spectators when it comes to economic activity in your own country. How shameful it is. You go to one of these, some of these hospitality industries, you find that they are 100% foreign, whereas our children are stuck in the townships, and they end up being involved in drugs, in prostitution, because they are trying to survive and they've got nothing to do. How do you tell people now let's wait for the government to do something? People are sick and tired. That is why we are saying Operation Dudula is community-based. And it's not people who are being parachuted into certain communities. These are the people who are dealing about issues that they see around them on a daily basis that are affecting them.
Perhaps enlighten us. When you go on an operation, perhaps identify a specific business, what would first have happened? Do you have to first type a letter to the owner to say, can we have a conversation with you, just to assess if you have the right quotas, or you have a few South Africans as well, as there's some sort of a balance in terms of those employed? What would be the process when identifying and then eventually arriving at a business?
What we usually do, we do write letters, and the reason we go there with the local community members, so that even the business owners who are operating there and they are making money, generating money from that community. Now, we go with the community so that they can see the frustration of the communities around them, the frustration of the communities that they are generating profit from. That this is their frustration. All they are requesting is that prioritize South Africans when it comes to employment. We know that we don't have the right to go inside and check the quota system and whatever. But at the moment, we are pleading with them, make sure that you prioritize South Africans. You are generating money from this community. Play your part. You are in South Africa as an investor. If you are an investor in South Africa, you are expected to create employment, to contribute towards the economy meaningfully. But now, if South Africans don't enjoy any economic benefit from your investments, and then it's doomed as useless for South Africans. They won't even appreciate it.
You know, I was comforted listening to an interview, at the very least, just the part where one of your leaders, Nhlanhla Lux, was speaking here on a show of my colleague JJ Tabane, stating that you love your foreign brothers and sisters. You were referring to them as brothers and sisters. What are we misunderstanding here? Because many are concerned about stoking fires for xenophobia. Because sometimes it happens that you guys may have a legitimate cause that you're fighting for, and then somewhere along the line, the message is diluted, there's what is called a third hand, then there's xenophobic attacks, which is something we don't want to go back to as a country. It was horrible, it was shameful, and we don't want to be known for that as a country internationally. So how are you going to handle that or manage that? Because there are those that are opportunistic that will, even under the banner of Dudula, go now and say they're seeing a shop of perhaps a Pakistani national and decide to say, we are Dudula, give us something. There will be criminal elements when you continue this operation, and as much as you have stated that you are very disciplined, there will be people coming and asking for money from some of these foreign nationals and abusing them.
Mm-hmm. No, we are definitely guarding against that very much strongly. But when it comes to the question of foreigners, you know, we grew up with foreigners, living side by side with them. No, we never had a problem. We don't have a problem with them. As long as people, they abide by the laws, they respect our constitution. You are here legally, you've got all your documents. If you are here as an investor, you've got all the documents that are required for you to run a business, even if it's a business permit or whatsoever. As long as people, they respect our constitution, respect our laws. Now, why we are saying that? Things started to take a turn when we saw the level of criminality now that is involved, committed around these so-called places that are non-go areas for South Africans. And then that's when things took a turn. And even some of the foreigners that we engage with them, those who are legal in the country, they are also complaining that our brothers, our sisters are really denting our name here. They also don't like what is happening.
But then here's the confusion. You guys are working with the police. Well, not necessarily working with the police, but you find that where you conduct your operations, the police are there. But when we're talking criminality, it's the competence of the police. So shouldn't you be agitating and marching to police stations to say, these are no-go areas because you have failed us? You have failed us. If people always want to attempt to be criminals, there should be a deterrent, and police must deter that type of conduct. But if you're walking into operations and working with them and retrieving girls at brothels, why have they allowed those brothels to fester?
I'm not sure if I would say that is a question or it's an answer to our operation. Because, for an example, Hillbrow, that is said to be the hotspot in South Africa. There is a police station in Hillbrow,
yes,
which is within walking distance of Hillbrow. Now, if the very same police failed to stop it when this started, how do we then march to the same people and say, please go and stop that? But what we are doing in all our operations, we are informing them that we are going such a place for this reason, 1, 2, 3, 4.
You could call for a change, that maybe they need to be swapped. If they've become too familiar and built branches and operations of their own there, maybe they need to be swapped. You get what I'm saying? That Soweto police maybe need to work in Hillbrow. Are you looking for such solutions where it's not always individuals dealing with individuals, but you actually wage a war and direct most of these things to government?
Yes, that is one of the options that we are looking at, because our next biggest match, 2 biggest matches will be going to Home Affairs. And then the other one will be going to the police headquarters for such reasons. If they can't so clean their house, and then they must just swap, for an example, Hillbrow police station, just swap the entire, because some of them have been there for 20 years, they've got friends around Hillbrow. We've got evidence of them, you know, collecting money here and there, but we are not in the business of character assassinations here. But that is one of the options that we are looking at, that we are going to police headquarters. These are the requirements, all the hotspots, swap the police officers there, bring in new blood, maybe a new broom will clean better. And then our next stage is Home Affairs, for one reason. Even in instances where police are trying to deal with immigration, illegal immigrants, and then Home Affairs is not playing part. They don't deport these people, they don't come to verify their documents and whatever. And at the end of the day, police have got to release them because they can only keep them for certain hours.
Trevor, your reaction to that? Perhaps they're saying that they're going to be going to police stations. They will be calling for that swap, where if perhaps Hillbrow police officers have become too familiar and have friends, etc. Do you think that would probably solve the problem? Where now they're focusing on government and what government should be doing for citizens, as opposed to perhaps fighting among each other or even fighting business owners?
Yeah, I agree fully with that approach. I think that, like Mfundo was trying to verify with Comrade Radebe there, the message becomes mixed because now there's anti-foreigners, then it's government, so it all gets mixed up. So I think that maybe Operation Dudula must sit down, go back to the drawing board and make sure that their messaging and their priorities and the campaign, has got clear objectives so that it doesn't attract people who might think, it's aiming to do things which the leaders never meant it to do. So if they say they're anti-xenophobic, it must be clear, in their constitution, it must be clear in their speeches, it must be clear in their banners. And then if they say they're going to target government offices, those who are in power, we can even unite because we challenge the government and we challenge big business, to do the right thing so that ordinary people get out of the socio-economic crisis which is facing people every day in South Africa.
Mm-hmm. Dan, your closing remarks?
My closing remarks that we are calling on all South Africans, South Africa at large, to unite, stand up, defend their country, reclaim their country, the control of their country, reclaim their economy. They cannot always be spectators when it comes to economic activity. They cannot live on 350s whilst non-South Africans are enjoying the luxury of living in South Africa after we fought so hard for this country.
Gentlemen, thank you very much for your time. Hopefully we could see the both of you actually working on one team and challenging the issues that legitimately do exist, particularly the high unemployment. That was United Front spokesperson Trevor Ngwane. In studio, we are joined by Operation Dudula representative Den Radebe.